Because the American pigeon head is so limited when it comes to politics, and it's necessary, it necessitates carving out a very simple position. So I will oblige this necessity, despite my desire to elaborate and explain more complicated matters. We can see from the criminally insane response of the state of Israel, the obliteration of Gaza, the murder of America's ethical heritage, that the people of Gaza could be believed to have given off a desperate scream on October 7th when their daring men sought law enforcement to take prisoners of the insane criminals who were killing their people. Today it was reported that despite the obliteration practices, another desperate scream went out. I'm not sure that it doesn't feed into the worst fears about what Hamas did, which would be that they wanted this to happen, that they wanted a culture of martyrs, that Saudi Arabia, that Jordan, that those who opposed Arab Spring feared Gaza University and decided that Gaza could be martyred en masse in order to discredit the United States of America for some weird collusion between Netanyahu and the Saudi Arabians that went on behind the scenes. And Hamas's attack today can never be supported because it's obvious that it's foolish and is only going to doom their civilians to more mayhem from the brutal and criminally insane Israelis. I say with no remorse that I have never believed anything but that the United States of America should weigh in against Israel from the very first footfall in Gaza. I have cheered the bravura of poor little Yemen, desperately crying for their brothers in pain. We hear the absurd spectacle of little men like Obama, for he is a little man, lacking in character and substance, and other imitators of bushy tune, who is deranged weasel profiting from the megalomania personality cult and brutal fascist mind of Ronald Reagan in America, the men who killed JFK. If you don't believe it, have a look at the evidence I have compiled in StoryChecks.org. I cannot say anything kind about Bobby Kennedy and his refusal to weigh in against Israel. He stands up and he repeats shibboleths offered by people like myself who loved Kennedy against the words, his uncle JFK, against the words of detractors like Chomsky. He says my uncle wanted to smash the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. He says he wanted to take apart the war in Vietnam. He says his father opposed the war in Vietnam. Most of us remember differently. Most of us remember that they were cautious. Bobby Kennedy was angry when Harris Wofford convinced JFK to call Parchment Penitentiary to release Martin Luther King. Bobby Kennedy did not run against the war. I remember his hesitation. He minced words. He mealy-mouthed. And RFK Jr. is going to leave it to his son or his grandson to say, oh, Bobby was mad about what they did to Gaza. It's cowardly. And leaves a very, very bad impression about the two faces of the Kennedy people and their leadership and where the priorities are. It's important to remember what really happened on 9/11. Diamond DeGaulle and probably Doty happened on 9/11. The gang who killed JFK happened on 9/11. And if that's not true, What was Cliff Robertson doing in a private plane above the Twin Towers where he went to watch? This was the man who poached JFK's Enigma for the Hollywood that set him up and killed him in a Venus flytrap built by the Dallas, Texas Police Carousel Club gang. He then starred in the premiere issue of The Outer Limits. Remember, we now take control of your television set. Back in the days of antenna TVs, it was on UHF. You had a little round antenna for the UHF channel made of wire. But it was delayed for Kennedy's state funeral. We now return control of your TV sets. RFK Jr. believes that if he wins this election, they will return control of our TV sets to us. I believe differently. I believe the best way for RFK to lead is to tell the truth and to oppose Israel, to make it clear that they are violating America's ethical heritage. They are destroying our country's soul, and with it, my Jewish brothers. Make no mistake, Netanyahu is no authentic Jew. He's an authoritarian berserker, wreaking havoc on innocent people because he's psychiatrically deranged.